Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the videos. Another paid request. It's time for Dale. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a film called On the Line from 2022, I guess. And at least this is 2022 because this is a film that I remember hearing. I think when it was first announced, Mel Gibson, the star in a movie where he's a radio show host. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I completely forgot about it because this came out supremely under the radar. I had completely forgotten that this film came out, that it existed, and all the jazz. Mel Gibson plays a radio kind of shot jock host, but not too much shot jock. Like, there's a little bit of that Howard Stern there, but at the same time, even on the radio, he's still a bit more likable than other shot jocks. And among the people there, there's this lady who's his, how do I put it, switchboard operator. There's this new guy, Dylan. It's his first day on the job. Kevin Dillon is in the film from the Blah remake, but he's only in it for like 3 scenes, very, very briefly, which is too bad. I wish we could have seen more of him, but again, he's only in for like 3 little scenes. So, what happens is, during this night, he gets a call from a guy named Gary, and come to find out that this guy's really upset with Mel, says he's got the Mel's wife and kid, and you better do what I say or I'll kill them. And the game begins. The suspense begins. And without going further, I could just say this. I really enjoyed this movie. It's got nitpicks I have, but I thought this was a nice welcome surprise. It gives a 5.4. For me, that's too low, but I have a feeling it's because of the ending. I really enjoyed the ending, but the ending will piss some people off. It will, but I really enjoyed it. That was interesting. Maybe people... I'll get to that in a bit, but I thought Mel Gibson did a really good job acting-wise in this. You know, a lot of times these guys do these direct-to-video stuff, and number one, he is the star of this. He's not just in it for 5 minutes, he is the star. Number two, I do not think he was sleepwalking through this. I think this is one of the better performances I've seen from him in quite a few years. And there are times he gets some real tears going, and there's times where he gets angry and upset, and he's not sleepwalking. Not in the slightest. Now, maybe that's because his health wasn't affected like Bruce Willis and his past films, and he gives a little bit of a shit, unlike Steven Seagal and his almost 10 years of films in the past 10 years. So I'm thinking, man, if Mel got the star in more movies and they're any decency like this, please have at it, man. And let me say this, because people don't bring up the whole Mel Gibson thing. I like Mel Gibson as an actor. I like him as a director. He didn't direct this, but I'm just saying, the guy fucked up. He fucked up. He was drunk. Does that mean what he said when he was drunk was right? But the guy has apologized. Now, granted, I'm not Jewish, so I guess that's up to people who are Jewish, whether they want to accept his apology or not. I'm not here to tell them what to do. All I can say is that it seemed like he's tried to mend his ways. That's what it seems like. And apologize and try to be better and move on. And yeah, I sit there and go, what more can you do? That'd be the question to ask. What more do you want him to do? So, again, That's up to people whether they want to still hate the guy or not. Again, I see that he has tried to be a better person, and there's a lot of people that don't. So I do give credit to that. And he also admitted, just granted, there's some people that have done all, like Kevin Spacey, and a lot of other folks that have done some really shitty, worse stuff that I could understand, and I don't. I don't give them any passes, but Mel Gibson, I think he's tried to be a better person. Again, he said terrible things. I don't agree with what he said, but I think he's trying. I mean, hell, we watch movies about people that have fucked up, and we hope to see the redemption. So if we can do that with a movie, we can do that in real life. So I still like Mel Gibson. I liked his movies. I do think he's a good actor. And I think he gave a pretty damn good performance in this. The supporting cast did fine enough what they had to do. They served their purpose. Pacing wise, I mean, other than maybe I drew with a friend, Fabio, who did. I watched his review after watching this, so I didn't have anything spoiled. And I agree with him. About 5-10 minutes could have been cut out. I could see one instance that could have been absolutely cut out. Involves a number game and a staircase. I think that entire thing could have been cut out, and it would not have been missed. I thought there was some fun pieces of dialogue early on with Mel, like when he's doing the show, and he's talking about, because he talks with other callers before the shit really hits the fan, and he talks about at one point, oh, you know what, I had a fear of clowns, and then I slept with a female clown, and she had the nose and everything. It was really weird, and then by the time I woke up, she had turned my dick into a balloon poodle. She twisted my dick to look like a poodle. Something like that. I thought that was pretty funny. Among other stuff. I gotta admit, the movie really kept me engrossed, especially the first half. There's little bits in the second half, maybe lose a little bit, but especially the first half, it kept me interested to see where this was going. And then while there were plot points, I thought, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. And then by the time the ending came about, it made quite a bit more sense. I mean, it's not too bad also that the movie starts, and when Mel's driving into the radio station, you got Red Hot Chili Peppers playing on the soundtrack. And it's not that badly directed of a movie. Like, it's not that much of a bad-looking film. It really isn't. For a film that went straight to, VOD, again, it mostly is in a radio station, so it's not like a lot of beautiful shots, but it's not like a lot of lackluster shots either. It's not muted, dull colors, or schizophrenic editing, spastic editing. So at least the director didn't do a whole lot of mistakes that a lot of other films do. It's not covered with CGI. There may be one or two shots, but very brief. I do like the bit between Mel and Kevin Dillon early on, where Mel's giving shit to Kevin Dillon's show, going, you play shitty music, and you're just there to tell the time. Yeah, you're a dickhead. Yeah, well, dickheads are on top. And Mel Gibson, I was hooked. I'll speak for myself. I was hooked with his performance. It was just great to see him again in a decent movie and do a good job going through the emotions, being scared, being frustrated, talking to this guy. I thought the guy had the right voice. It wasn't a scary voice, but it was a voice that but it worked for its purpose. The musical score, I thought, had a good mood to it. I did think in the third act, the score got a bit overzealous of being big of a score. But I thought the like the first 2/3 of it, the score was fairly moody and fit well. Like I said, there were times in the third it felt trying to be much bigger than it needed to be, but not a bad score. And like I said, I thought it was. I don't go into the ending. Because that's the big part of this movie is going to make it or break it for people. If you still want to see the film, back out now. I I liked it. I thought, like I said, made the film even more interesting. So, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. They're going through all these ups and downs where Mel Gibson is taught with a caller, and at first thinks the guy's in his house, and the cops get there and they don't find anyone. Then he finds out that the guy's in the radio station, and Fatty's come in and he's rid the place to blow up, and he's killing people one by one. And then when you get to the end of the film, come to find out, this was all a big prank on the new guy Dylan. Because they make the guy get freaked out and put like a bomb on a bomb vest on to save Mel's wife and kid. And they let it go that it was all a prank. So it did, well, God, if I mention these films, people, it will spoil them as well. There's a certain 80s slasher film that did that as well. And there's a certain Michael Douglas film that did that as well. I'll leave it at that. And I enjoyed those two films. In a way, there's another one, a John Travolta, Sam Jackson film that did that too, and I did like that one. It seems like a lot of movies that do that, it's such a rare motif that when people pull that it's kind of refreshing. And maybe that's why I'm almost like a sucker for it, because it's a risky. Just how many fucking films are there that ends with depressing everybody dies? 10 times as much. 20 times as much. I mean, there's 20 times as many they all die at the end, and oh, here comes a sequel, and all sorts of stuff. Arlington Road. Like, that's a twist ending I hated. This is the opposite, and so I rather go for that. Now, again, the risk of that, because it's also a double twist, because then the guy's like freaked out, the new guy Dylan, and Mel Gibson's like, hey, how do you feel? Come on, don't run away. Like, come on. Like, tell the audience how you feel. Listen, don't quit, man, don't quit. And the guy backs up and he falls down the stairs. And one of his people go in and, oh my God, he's dead. And Mel Gibson, you see the soul sucked out of his body. And this next morning, he's crying, he's tearful. Really good job by Mel Gibson. And then the boss has him come in, like, what the fuck are you doing? I told you, these fucking jokes. She's like giving him the third degree. Listen to the radio. And the radio says, happy birthday. And Mel looks, and the driver is the guy Dylan. He's actually Max. He's actually a stunt guy. So this is all a big plan of the people to play this joke on Mel, where they make Mel believe they're doing this joke on this Dylan guy. He freaks out, boom, and then that's the prank, the fuck with Mel. It's like, you motherfuckers, you wait till tomorrow, because that's when the games really begin. And like I said, that will make or break this movie for people. There will be people that absolutely hate it, call it stupid. I'm like, I'm a fan of scare tactics, especially the first two seasons, which I do believe. I know people say that show was always fake. I do think a good chunk of the first two seasons were real. Now maybe they faked it later on so that they don't get sued. I think there was at one point that someone tried to sue the show. And maybe that's when they started doing it. But I do think that, call me naive, but I do think the first chunk of that show was real, like real pranks to pull on people, and that they do this a couple times, and the people that go along with it, those are the ones they show. So I would, from what I gather, they probably pull the prank 5-6 times, but this was the best one. Because there are other shows where they do the same prank with a different person. So that's what I mean. They probably did it 5-6 times, but these three people were cool. We'll use one here and use this one later on. Use this one much later on. Or there could be people that go, you know what? I really wanted a serious thriller. I really wanted a hardcore thriller. I kind of wish, as ridiculous as maybe some things would be, that this was, Mel going out with this guy around this radio station, and no matter what you did, you could always go with, I've seen that before. You've seen thrills before. I mean, hell, you could say Hostage where Bruce Willis did that, other than the Shot Jock radio station. But I'm just saying, like, you have a guy whose family's taken hostage. He has to be forced to do things. There are other movies that have done that too. So no matter which direction you went, it's like, we've done that before. So again, the ending, I will admit, I did not see coming. Because it's been a while since someone's done that type of ending. I mean, was it? Maybe. It's been a while. And it was refreshing in a way when it hasn't been done in a while. But that will piss a lot of people off. But again, for me, since I'm now in the spoilers, when I look back, I go, yeah, okay, I get it. Because, for example, I'm watching this and going, wait a minute, the mom, like his wife and kid on the phone, they didn't sound exactly like his wife and kid at the beginning of the movie. I'm like, that daughter doesn't sound like the daughter at the beginning. Something's up here. What? Or am I hearing it wrong? Or, at the very beginning, you think Mel Gibson's crying for help, but he's telling a kid a story. I go, okay, that's trying to warn the audience this type of manipulation that could be at play. I did like the bit at the beginning where there's this guy, when he enters the radio station before all this stuff happens, there's this actual crazy nut who believes he's Jesus. And the way Mel has to talk him down, be like, hey, wait a minute, it's been 2,000 years. You don't want to be on the radio? Like, no one will see you. What? Yeah. You need to do a live stream. You need to do a live stream. And just the way Mel, like, talks him down and tricks him into leaving. I thought that was kind of a funny scene. I thought Mel did a good job acting in that part of it. Like I said, I liked his interaction with Tim Dillon. I wish Tim Dillon was in it more. Part of me wishes Tim Dillon was maybe the new guy. I mean, it doesn't have to be a new... Like, new doesn't mean young. Like, you just still be new to work at a radio station and be an older guy. So, I know Tim Dillon has been doing some of these direct-to-video films. I think he was in one with Mel Gibson where he's, like, some dude with a bomb and he's in a chair. Like, Tim Dillon stars in it, but I've heard from people that's not that good of a movie, and that Mel Gibson's barely in it. Trying to remember. I think he was in another one with Bruce Willis in it, and some other stuff. But it would have been nice if Tim Dillon was that guy Dylan, but I know Fabio mentioned the guy who played Dylan. I guess he was in one of the Chronicles of Narnia movies. But I barely remember those damn films. I'm not a fan. Just not my cup of tea. But I mean, he did fine. He did perfectly fine. I thought the movie at times was rather funny. Like Mel's talking about this YouTube guy that stalled him and then show up. It's like, man, this guy makes 3 videos and they think they're bouncy knolls, and someone has to go, Beyonce. Oh, whatever, bouncy, Beyonce, whatever. And I thought, to begin with, like the tension was rather nice with Mel being told by this guy that, oh yeah, I gave rat poison to your dogs earlier, and then when I came by, I just took care of them. I finished them off. And here's your wife, and here's your daughter, and I bet you slept with that lady there with you, huh? The switchboard operator? Just admit it. Oh, well, I thought they did a decent job building up that tension. And the guy brings up this girl, Lauren, who used to work there. And Mel's like, well, it's a shot radio. We fucked around. We made jokes. And the guy tries to get Mel Gibson to go up to jump off. And he pretends to jump off. But then the guy has a drone. And then he's like, I'm going to kill your wife and kid. But then the cops go in as they're told. And, well, there's no one here. There's no signs of forced entry. And then that's when Mel, you think that's the big twist where he realizes, oh no, the killer's actually been here the whole time in the radio station. And they find the security guard dead. And that's when that's when I thought the score was at its best. When they find the security guard dead and the store's being very moody, kind of creepy. And Mel's just getting more and more agitated and pissed off. Come on here, man. Come on here, motherfucker. You'll deal with me. And that's where the bad guy says that, hey, look at your doors. 40 minutes, this bomb will go off. Now, I will say, in looking back on this, there's couple little nitpicks I have. Like, for example, you find out at the end this is all a prank. So why is it that there's a shot with the girl and the other guy far away from Mel, far away from the new guy Dylan, because they're down below and these two are up top? Why do they have this scared look on their face to go and put this put this the microphone in the elevator to bring down the Mel? But then the more I think about it, and I thought, after they say the prank, they do go on this spiel. I think they cover their bases fairly well. For example, they're telling the audience that this wasn't just a prank for Dylan. This is a prank for the audience as well. The audience out there. And what I said by this is that, like, earlier on, the manager mentions to Mel that you've plateaued and the ratings aren't going the best and you have no social media presence. So this was a big old hoax way to get the ratings up. Mel mentions how they talked with the cops, LAPD, before, so that way no one would, cops wouldn't come here. Also, the killer was that YouTuber that Mel brought up earlier, and he's also acting this out. And he mentioned how he filmed everything. So that's, I guess, why I can assume why some people are doing things even though the other people aren't there. Kind of like Steer Tactics. I mean, Steer Tactics, the same things happened, on the show Steer Tactics. So that's why I would assume that happened, because the YouTube's like, by the way, I filmed everything. Do I have it up on my channel? And like I said, with the pacing I thought was pretty good. There is a bit where Mel and Dylan are on the staircase and the killer calls and says, try to say what this number sequence is. Is it 1, 2, 3? Is it 3, 2, 1? Is it 2, 1, 3? If you get it right, it's another way to, in Mel's point of view, scare Dylan. where they fail, Mel fails, and it's up to Dylan, and it's supposed to steer him. I get the idea behind it, because in Mel's point of view, he thinks this is all a prank on Dylan. So this is the other guys following that protocol to make this guy steered. Unbeknownst to Mel, this is all to go to another prank to steer the shit out of Mel. And if you're not into that at all, like if you don't like steer tactics, you don't like the other stuff, then that's the tough thing. Like, I'm going to mention the slasher film. If you don't want to be spoiled on any slasher films of the 80s, be warned. April Fool's Day. Now, April Fool's Day I like more than this. Because, number one, a lot of those characters did not know they were part of the prank, so their reactions are real, and their back and forth banter is pretty funny and natural, and that's just how those characters are acting. And then they don't find out till much, much later on where they get on the prank. And, there's other aspects I liked in that. I love April Fool's Day. But think about that film. When it came out, you had to sell it as a slasher film. You had to tell people this is a bona fide slasher film. This is a horror film. This is a film meant to be scared. You had to sell it with the posters. You had to sell it with the trailers. So then when people see that and they're hoping for a Friday the 13th type of film, they're hoping for a, My Bloody Valentine type of film, and they don't get that, they get pissed. They get angry. They felt like they were false set of goods they were sold. Like, I rented this, well, at the time, theater, nowadays rent, or streamed, I rented this and I wanted a thriller. And I'm like, well, it was a thriller until you find out it wasn't. So some people feel they were, bamboozled. But to me, like, it depends on your taste. If that's the kind of trickery, I'm all for it, because number one, I like Mel Gibson's character. I thought he did a good job. I felt refreshing. I kind of felt the sense of relief and fun that the other characters did at the end. I'm like, this is really fucked up, but the joy in everybody's faces, how they're messing with each other. Also, the fact there were no victims. Like, you thought Dylan was a victim, but then he was in on from the beginning. He was a stunt man. That's when you find out that Dylan, he did this thing down the stairs because he was a stunt man that the other crew hired for Mel's birthday to play a prank on him. That's another thing, is that a lot of times in these prank shows, you feel bad for the victim. But here, really the victim of the day was Mel, who helped start this in the first place. So, in a way, that was kind of... Again, you don't feel bad for anybody. So, it makes it kind of easier to laugh at the situation. I even like the line, they throw in the line where Mel Gibson, because the guy has his bomb, and if he lets go of this, it'll blow up, and Mel literally says, "What kind of B-movie bullshit is this?" Mel really sells it. I think if you're a Mel Gibson fan and you enjoy his performances, it's at least worth a look for that. I found it interesting. I mean, by this point you know the twist, but if you shut off before, then you're not hearing this. But if you've seen it after, like I said, that made it fun and refreshing and different. And nice surprise. Nice, pleasant surprise. I did like this film. And I would watch this film again. From what I was told, it's only on DVD in the US. And it's getting completely pummeled by reviews. I think the only positive review I saw on YouTube was Fabio's. and now mine. So yeah, I did like this film. But the ending's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I did quite like it. And let's see Mel Gibson back again. I liked him in Boss Level. By that, he's playing a smaller role and he's a villain. Here he gets to play the lead. much more prevalent. Like I said, I wish Kevin Dillon was in it more. There's about 5-10 minutes there to be shaved up a bit. But overall, I did quite like it. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.